Welcome back. This is Deep Waters with Deborah Waters. Indeed, we're right in the middle of the deep, and there are only two things when you're in the middle of the deep: is either you float to safety somehow, or you sink. I don't want to say drown. Drown sounds scary. Or you sink basically. But hey, this is Deep Waters with Deborah Waters. We don't sink here. We always have a guide. We always have a coach to help us, float and survive and find direction basically on the show. Speaking of coach, I have a life coach, a business consultant with me in the studio, a trained mass communicator, a seasoned professional with 14 years of trailblazing success in corporate training, business consulting, life coaching. He has passion for igniting transformation and fostering long-lasting success. And he has also catalyzed the growth of numerous big companies and empowered countless individuals to reach their fullest potential. He currently operates as a lead consultant for the Getting Ahead and also serve as associate consultant to several reputable management consulting firms. He's a convener, like I said, of the yearly Get Ahead conference, a platform to stir up greatness in the heart of upwardly mobile professionals seeking to be number one in their fields, and challenges them to impact their nations and generations and several, even congregations. Ladies and gentlemen, I have with me Sam Nike, life coach, business consultant extraordinaire. Hello.
Hi, Deborah Waters. It's good to be here.
Good to have you in the
It's
studio.
good to be in the deep.
Oh, where's your life jacket though? You can swim,
it's on
Abby.
the inside. When we need to call for it, we call for it.
Good to have you in the studio. Thanks
Same
for
here.
joining. So we're talking today about identity crisis. Recognizing, recovering, discovering identity crisis, and finding a way to just overcome it basically. And as a life coach, as somebody who inspires people, motivates people, and all, I would want to know, first of all, have you ever had any identity crisis? I know you're at this point in your life you don't, but have you ever had?
Yeah. All right. Thank you once again, and appreciate the listeners and the viewers. You know, I have had identity crisis while I was growing up. I'm 43 now. My next birthday I'll be 43.
Wow.
But when I was a teenager, I grew up in a family where my father had 5 wives and 19 children. One of his property has got 6 apartments and 19 rooms. So you can see, so we have a kind of home where I have guys who are of my same age but different mothers. So everybody wants to throw tantrums. Everybody wants to really show who they are. So as a result of that, when I do something, you can see people saying, no, you can't try that. You are not going to get this. You are not. So then that affected my identity. So I became very shy. So if they told me that I'm going to be leaving from standing up to speak to people, I wouldn't have believed that back in the days. But it is as a result of the fact that I found my real identity and I stayed on it. That's why I can say I'm floating. I'm not really sinking. All right. So I have heard it before. And one of those things that helped me is the fact that, Socrates said, they asked him, what are the ways to survive this world? Anybody. And he told them there are 3 things you must know. Number 1, he said, know thyself. They said, what is number 2? He said, know thyself. And then you will think the number 3 will be a different thing. He said, know thyself. So if any man find the true identity of who he or she is, that is the beginning of transformation.
So in other words, identity means knowing yourself.
Identity simply means you know your true meaning, your true essence, your purpose, the reason for your existence. You know yourself in and out. You are not operating on what we call identity. In our space, there's something we call identity. If Deborah look at me severally and start to say, you are, I don't want to use negative word now. You are this, you are that, you are this, you are all of the time. If I get to hear that countless of time, there's tendency for me to beginning to believe what you are saying. The moment I start to believe that Deborah is right about what she said about me, and I start to operate in that dimension, that's identity.
Wow.
I am believing the lies somebody told me about myself.
Interesting.
So identity is when you believe what is designed for you by your creator, and who you really are, your true essence. If you believe it, what you say to yourself is who you are. That's my belief.
So I hear you loud and clear. You've talked about identity. You've talked about identity. So what if you're in a situation where you grew up in a place where all you've been hearing is the identity, and the identity has finally become your identity?
Your identity,
How do you differentiate between, oh, these are lies and this is actually who I am?
I think the starting point is the fact that everyone that is living, your background has a way of affecting your life. There are two things that affect any man: the background and the kind of what the person believes about himself, the background and what you believe about himself. So we tend to live in some certain quarters where people say all manner of things to you. So how you know what is being said is identity is for you to sit down and find out what exactly is my frame. What am I made up of? And there is no better way to talk about that than to know that you are created by your maker, God. So if you believe what God says about you, is enough for you to downplay on whatever anybody says. You just always switch to that side of what my maker said about me.
Okay, so now I like where we are headed now.
Yeah.
I feel like every time we talk about identity, who we are, as Muslims, we want to run to the Quran to find our identity in the Quran. As Christians, we want to run into the scripture to find our identity in the scripture. And I'm thinking, without any of this, books and all that, why is it that when we talk about identity, we are always rushing to what the book says, what the Quran, what the Bible, that's what our God says. I'm not saying, okay, if you are not away from all those things,
checking the two, right?
Yes, so, I'm away from religion. Is there an identity?
Yes, but yes and yes. Let me put it that way. Why I say that is that every human being, there is something called inner intuition. You've got all of that on the inside. There is a voice that comes to every human. That inner voice tells you this is not you. All of the time when somebody says you are dark, you are this, you are that, there's another voice speaking silently saying, no, that's not you. That's not you. But we hear too much of you are this, you are that, you are that. So it has overpowered the original one, which is coming on the inside. So I believe there are people who does not believe in God, and they have their identity. I mean, there are people like that. Except that it may not be 100%, because I believe that there is, for every product, there is a manufacturer that produces any product, and there's a manual, So when you say people go to the Bible or the Quran, I think they consider that as the manual, which something has already been written about them. So it's not wrong to visit that. But then, if you don't want to visit that, I've seen people, I visited the Bible, actually. That was my own escape. If there was something else that was my escape, I would have said it online too, but that was my escape, actually. But there are people who really don't yet understand how to visit that, but that personal intuition, and by default, they just know that this is me. There are some people that are so self-confident. Growing up, their background was cool. Nobody ever told them anything wrong. So people like that really don't have that issue, because they came from a home where they respect them. Growing up,
identity is a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle, and people don't. If you say something wrong about a child, it's the parent that will quickly say, no, don't tell my child that. Some people grew in that environment, but if you grow up in the environment where even the parent does not have an idea of what identity is, you will definitely have that crisis.
Interesting. This is Deep Waters with Deborah Waters, and I am in the studio with life coach and business consultant Sam Nike in the studio, helping us dive deeper on the topic of the day, identity crisis, recovering and recognizing identity crisis. Have you ever been in a situation where you're questioning who you are, where you're from, or do you used to have your identity and you lost it at some point, or are you in an identity crisis and you don't even know that you are in one? If you have questions and thoughts and comments, feel free to call in on 0705-993-6937 or 0705-993-7937. So Sam Nike,
Yeah.
you earlier you mentioned so far when we're talking about identity crisis, you keep saying, oh, when I was a child or when we were young, and the children who heard this growing up and all that. Who is most likely to experience identity crisis? Adolescents, teenagers, adults, grown-ups? Who is most likely to experience it?
Unfortunately, I think everybody experiences identity crisis at every level. But what is responsible for him is majorly background and what we call programming. So on this system in front of me, there has been some software that has been installed. All right, on my phone right now, I have quite a number of applications that I installed on it. All right. So for example, let me not mention the app, but I'm just saying that whatever app I have on my phone right now is functioning based on the fact that the application is on my phone. There's a programming on the phone. If I uninstall the program, the application, that particular programming stops on that phone. I don't know whether you understand.
I get what you mean.
All right. So what that means is that growing up, there is programming. They programmed us to believe you cannot do this, you cannot attain this. Who are you to say you're going to become a radio lady? They say all of that to some people growing up. So as a result of that, they are in a zone where they 100% believe that can be them. So that's a wrong identity. But the actual identity for every child of our maker, of our God, is that I can do anything. Because when a child is born, there's a research that says children doesn't know anything. We are the one that start to let them know this is this is that. When a child comes to this world, they don't believe in nothing. They don't believe some things are not possible.
Yeah, they're like a blank canvas.
If parents start to tell them, no, you can do that, you can do this, you can do that, you can. Then the child start to believe, oh, so I can do this, I can do this. Then it grows with that.
Interesting. Hold that. So let's take a caller. Hello. Hello.
Yes, hello.
Hi. Good evening. Thanks for calling.
Oh yeah, I'd like to ask a question.
Okay, go ahead.
The question is.
Please speak louder, or if you're using an earpiece, just remove it so I can hear you clearly.
When you're talking about
talk.
identity crisis,
Okay.
the first thing that comes to my mind is that the way people know me is different from the way I know myself. So how? This is to the guest. How do I balance the perception of people and the perception I have about myself?
Interesting. Interesting. You didn't even mention your name though.
Oh, my name is Anthony from Idimo.
Okay, Anthony. Thanks for calling. Coach would answer your question. Alrighty. Did you hear what he said?
I really didn't get, but if I get very well, he said is when you are in between the people's perception about you and what you believe about yourself. Exactly. So how do you? I didn't get
balance it. So I think there's an identity crisis there because when you know something about yourself, but people are saying
other stuff about you. Okay.
And then you want to live up to their expectations, but there's something inside you saying, I also want to be who I think I am.
Okay, so there are several ways. I can't remember this particular model, but I will explain it. There are things you know about yourself and everybody knows about you. As I am, there are certain things I know about myself and everybody around me knows about me, right? The second stage are the things that I do not know about myself, but people around me knows about it, right? I don't know certain things because there's something we call blind spots, right? So we should not mix it together and stay on the side of, hey, this is what I know about myself. Whatever anybody says does not matter. There are times that there are certain things you can't see about you, some flaws you can't see, some attitude, some thinking behavior. We call it unconscious competence. You don't know, and you don't know.
And
That's,
even
that's
when
the,
you
that's the
know,
worst.
even when you know, you don't even accept.
You don't accept. So that's the second level. The third level is what everybody around you does not know, but only you know about it. When you were 13, when you were 14, you were in one corner, in one room with one uncle. Something happened that day, that year. You still remember clearly, but nobody in this world knows about it. Only you, and maybe your God knows about it. See, that's 3 levels.
Yes.
But where people need to be careful is that, number one, the fundamental thing is to know what you know about yourself, what God knows about, what God says about you. Let me put it that way.
Okay.
Then the other one, which is the blind spot, what you don't know when people, and people know about you. When people start to talk about it, that is when you need to sit down and now look at what people said about it. Is it really, really, really true? Is this me? If it is you, then accept
So
that this has to change.
In other words, sorry to cut you. In other words, you have to find a way to step out of yourself in that moment and become an observer.
And become an observer and look at it from an holistic view, what people are saying. But let me also say that you don't take what everybody says about you. If it is negative, check it very well. If it is negative, you have to, of course, nobody wants to say something negative, but the moment it's negative, you have to guard it. You have to be on the defensive. But somewhere in your heart, you need to also look at it very well and say, is this really me? And if it is you, if you change that way, you'll be sure that in the next 6 months, people won't say that about you again.
Interesting. Which is stronger, people's identity of you or your identity of yourself?
Oh, the best is the identity of yourself. That's why Socrates said, know thyself, know thyself. When you know yourself, every other thing becomes so easy. And so there's a saying that says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So we act based on the way we think.
Yeah, but see, I like that you are saying this thing, but it's not easy sometimes, especially when you have to deal with the society's perception.
Yeah.
It's just like, for example, permit me to see on air a gay man, knowing his identity as as a LGBTQ, and the society around believing it, and then the society around it says, we don't want this. This does not exist. This is not real. This is from the devil, or this is from this is something that we don't understand. And now you're thinking, should I be myself? Should I embrace this identity, or should I just not believe it and just join the society in this journey? And now you say, I should believe my identity, I should believe myself, but the society around me don't accept me, they don't want me, they hate on me, they don't accept it. What should I do?
So this discussion now, we can, if I believe in what you are talking about, I mean the gay, if I believe in that, right, it is going to be easy for me to stay on that side, right? But because I'm a learning and development expert, I've done some research to know that this is not me. So whatever anybody wants to say about that cannot work for me. I've done a deep research about that, and the moment maybe if I find out that it's actually possible, because I have an identity already, so why do I want to change the identity to something else? You get what I mean? So whoever that is operating in that realm is an identity crisis upon identity crisis. That's the only way I can put it. But then everybody believe what they believe. That's why I said, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he.
Well, that's such a deep topic for another day, because that's if you open
like
up that canker one, you definitely cannot close it. There's also one question I wanted to ask. Can you have an identity and then lose it? Is it possible after finding yourself so much you can lose it?
Yeah.
Before that, ladies and gentlemen, feel free to join the conversation, calling on 0705-993-6937 or 0705-993-7937. I still have with me in the studio life coach and business consultant Sam Nike, helping us understand the topic of the day, identity crisis. Do you know who you are? Are you trying to find yourself, or do you once know who you were and for some reason you're now like, who am I? I don't even know anymore. Feel free to join the conversation. So can identity be lost?
Yeah, it can be lost, but this is how it happens. From study, we realize, and from observation, from experience, when someone has an identity that is quite good, when something bad happens, when you lose someone very close to you, very dear to you, study shows that you you can want to lose the identity, but it is in you to fight back and take back your identity. So it happens when you feel, oh, so my loved one is gone like that, and then it starts to show in the way you do things. People begin to see that you are no longer yourself. You are not acting like yourself. Everything is not normal. So that is why the message of move on is very critical for such a person, and that has happened to me before. Losing someone very close, people looked at me and they were like, this is not you, this is not you, but I know it was what happened to me that is making things look like that. So I fought back and I gained back my stability. When there is a marriage crisis, maybe divorce and all that, could make a man to lose identity, because a man will always want to be a man. The ego is there. So when something happens, and then probably it's as a result of the fact that the partner says you cannot provide, that word is heavy. You cannot provide, so I think I need to leave.
Interesting. Let's hold that thought to take another caller. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. Well done.
Thank you, Olawale.
Okay.
Talk to me.
We are talking about identity crisis or something like that.
Yes, please.
Okay. The question that I want to ask our this thing is that, is it something that somebody can use practice or use money to buy, something like that? Because you make some example now that, like, if you love someone that you love or something like that, that you will spoil mind or something like maybe you are your husband in the house or something like that. Maybe you have been doing well. The money is not entering your hand again the way the money enters or something like that. Yeah, can your identity change about? Can the situation of the country, can it change your identity or something like that?
Interesting question. Thank you so much, Olawale, for calling. All right.
So Olawale, that sounds very a bit funny though, but the truth of the matter is I understand where you are coming from. Identity cannot be bought, but you can pay a coach to help you keep it. I think I heard that's the first thing you said. Is it something that can be bought?
Okay, yes.
I think I heard that.
Yes.
Right. But the next question you then ask is the situation of country when you can't provide a home. Can that it will challenge your identity? But if you have worked on yourself so much, you need to stay on that ladder where that should not affect your identity. But we are talking about how people loses their identity. That you lose it is not the issue. That you cannot gain it back is the problem. All right. So issues and circumstances will make you feel not man enough when something happens. When something happens, like when there is a marriage issue and then you can't provide, but that does not debunk the fact that your true identity is that you are a winner, you are powerful, you are peculiar, you are strong, you are talented. Situation makes it look like that. So it's challenging your identity. The best you can do that is why confession is part of ways to keep your identity high. You say to yourself who you are. You keep on saying that, for you to regain that identity. It can only be challenged. It can be completely taken away from you. But if you let the challenges take it away from you, then you failed. That's why they say if you fall in the days of adversity, your strength is small. So it means that you don't have enough strength, capacity to carry it. At some point in our lives, we have challenges. There has been a time in my life, many years ago, I couldn't pay the rent, and I didn't want the landlord to come and mess me up. So because of who I am, I decided to leave the house with my wife and 2 kids, and I went to start living with my elder sister. That alone is something that can make your identity go down. But you know what? In that situation, I will still go out, get on stage, talk to people and say, move on and all of that.
Wow.
And I stayed there for 28 days. 28 days.
Wow.
I mean, that is not, it's not normal.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that all of that has made, now I live in the house of my own. I drive a brand new car. I can take my wife out of the country, all expenses paid. I mean, she's doing well. But if I had allowed all of that to affect my identity, I don't think my life would be this cool the way it is. So I'm saying that challenges will come, but identity remains your identity. As long as your name did not change from Tunde or from Collins, your identity cannot change. It can be challenged. While you are in that challenge, people still call you your name. So you should still accept that your true personality is still you, is still what you have been designed and orchestrated to be.
Interesting. All right, so there's a lot going on here, so much. It's so electrifying. We cannot even miss it. But there's something I really want to have is ask: is identity crisis? Is it necessary to have? If for somebody's life journey.
Yes, it's part of issues in life. It's part of the only way, the one way this life, the life challenges you. I think it's through identity. That's the major challenge quite a number of people are having. So you want to ask me, why do some leaders act in a way that is very disgraceful? Why do you have, political leaders do some things that you feel like this is not right? I'm telling you, everything is from the root of identity crisis.
Really?
If you know your identity, you understand that I don't need to amass so much of money to be fine. You get what I mean? Wealth is from the inside. All right. So I believe identity crisis is at the root of many challenges in the world anyway. And there are 4 questions that I feel very critical. I was going to end with that. Maybe I should throw it down.
Okay.
If any man do not know how to ask this question and provide answer for those 4 questions, I can guarantee you that that person will not be very, very successful and not be great. I mean, when I talk about success now, some people are so poor, the only thing they have is money. If you understand that, can I say that again? Some people are so poor, the only thing they have is money. So I'm talking about holistic, success. The first question everybody must ask, and this question, lack of not being able to answer is responsible for many deficiencies we have all over the country now.
Okay.
The first question is, who am I? Is a question of identity. If every man every 6 months can have a meeting with himself or herself in every marriage, in every relationship, in any organization as an employee or as an employer, you sit down every 6 months and have a meeting with yourself and to ask, who am I? And then right beside it, the question of identity. That's the very key question. I ask myself that question every 3 months, just to find out if I'm still on track. The second question, because the consciousness of who you are determines what you dare. When you know who you are, you begin to dare some things. Because at some point in my life, I started to discover who I am. So there is no organization I cannot work to and drop a proposal and say, I want to come and do this for you guys. The worst you are going to say is no. But because I know the identity, I already found out that this is my identity. So the consciousness of who you are determines what you dare. People have lost their identity. That's why they will want to speak like Deborah Waters. They want to dress like you. You need to find your own identity and just behave like that. In the university setting, a lot of people have decided to be walking like their friend is walking. They decide to sag like the other guy is sagging. If you find your true identity, you will just be you.
Interesting.
And life will be cool.
Interesting. We have 3 more to go, right?
Yeah.
Who am I?
It's a question of identity.
A question. We have more questions coming on. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah.
Yeah, good evening. Thanks for calling.
Ma?
Go ahead.
Ma? Are you amazing to
Thanks for calling. What's your name?
My name is Jessica.
Jessica. Thanks for calling, Jessica. Talk to me.
Ma?
Do you have a question or do you want to make a comment? I'm here.
No, I saw the number on our television. I just called it. Let's say it's for children.
Okay, all right, Jessica. Thank you so much. I'm sure this is not an Amazing Kids show. This is Deep Waters with Deborah Waters. But thanks for calling. I appreciate it. All right, Jessica is probably... I hope she's found her identity.
Yeah.
All right,
Cool.
so what are the other
So
questions
the
to
first
ask?
one is who am I? It's a question of identity. The second one is what can I do? Is a question of ability. What can I do? If you can run through all these 4 questions, they are called life auditing questions.
Okay.
All right. What can I do is a question of ability. Now, the moment everybody finds what they can do, the issue of identity is being resolved holistically. So, what can I do? The question of ability. What's my ability? What am I able to do very well? So I knew many years ago I wasn't going to sit behind the counter, count the money that does not belong to me. Apologies to those that work in that field, but that was not me. I knew from the time. So I knew I'm going to be a communicator. It has to do with something that has to do with the audience. So when I found out what can I do, I started to do things, everything. I left an institution completely after not gaining admission for 5 years. Went back to my mom and said, I'm crazy. And my mom agreed that you are crazy. For you to say you are leaving, you stay home for 5 years, you finally found one place to go, and then you left my rechargeable lantern, what we call it those days, my bed, I left it in that institution. I got back home. I told my mom I want to write literature, GCE again, and go for mass communication. I was crazy. That's identity. Because I realized what can you do is a question of ability. So it's about ability. So I started doing things in that area. Anything I'm doing now, it does not matter how many millions anybody is making in any field. It's different from what I'm called to do. All right. So I stayed on that. That's the second question you need to ask and follow it through. The third question is, where am I going? Is a question of destination or destiny, as the case may be, because destiny is not a religious word, is a life word. All right. So the word destiny was taken from the word destination. All right. So everybody, every human being walking on the surface of the earth has a destiny in view. So you need to sit down and say, where am I going actually? So if you can answer that question of where am I going, you will then begin to understand that, okay, identity, the question of who am I, the question of identity, what can I do, the question of ability. Now I found my ability. How far do I want to go in this ability? All right, that's the same. Because if you know where you are going, if somebody said that anybody that knows where he's going, the whole world will stand aside for that person to pass. I don't know whether you understand.
Yes.
If anybody sees any man that knows where he's truly going, the whole world will stand aside for that man to pass. All right. The fourth one, I think, right, is the question is who has been there, and it's a question of partnership. Who has been there is a question of partnership. What this means is this: there is nothing you want to become. There is no field you want to be the top heart. There is no area, there is no kind of success you want to achieve that somebody has not already achieved it. So a wise person who understands the journey of identity wants to say, who has been where I want to be? Oh, Deborah Water has been one of the key guys on radio that I love to be like. Then the next thing I do is to look for how to partner with her so that she can tell me, this is how I passed through this stage. These orders, this is how I passed through it, right? I may not have to see her personally. I can read her books. I can listen to her. I can just get her mind and get how she thinks. For me to know, because you need to know who has been where you want to be. There is something they can tell you about the journey that makes the journey easy. I'll tell you this. Many years ago at Terra Culture, one man said to me, he said, if you know where you are going, your journey is short. If you know how to get there, your journey is shorter. If you know those that has been there, your journey is the shortest. From that day, light came to me and my life changed. If you know where you are going in life, your journey is short. That's not enough. If you know how, the strategies to get there, your journey is shorter, which is cool. But if you find those that has been there, your journey is the shortest. Why? They will tell you. So I found Fela Durotoye, and I knew this is the kind of where I'm going that year. All right. Then I didn't do anything. I just go and meet him and say, now this is where I'm going.
Download.
No, just go and meet him and say, see, anything you say, I do. All right. Then I start to understand how he thinks. The books he writes, I read those books. I start to follow all those lines. All right. That has really helped me a lot.
No wonder you're spilling fire.
That's just how it is. All right. So those questions are very critical for anybody on any journey, any career path, any business path. You want to survive. You want to really be someone that people can look up to and say, oh, this person has got it perfectly. You need to ask yourself those questions and provide answer to it. It may take time, all right? but take your time.
That means you're saying you might not get the answers immediately.
You because it's not something that is that easy. As you go on the journey, you begin to find the answer. And then you are telling yourself, "Oh, this is it."
This is absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much, Sam Nike, for sharing this with us. This has been really eye-opening. Before we go, I know you said something about, you say sometimes some leaders do some things and you're like, oh, is this a question of identity that, that there are some things they're not supposed to be doing? I would love for you to comment on the current allegations against TV Joshua. Is it also a question of, could it also be a question of identity?
That is a bit religious kind of, but the truth is the person that has gone, I don't know why people now start to say certain things about him. So in the first place, I can't find basis for it because it is someone that is alive that you can then query and say, they said you did this. A dead man cannot say anything. So it is where you see, in this case, if he was alive, his response will determine whether people will know that whether it was true or not.
Interesting. Nice
I mean,
comment.
that's all I can say.
All right, let's take one last call before we go. Oh, we lost that. This has been Deep Waters with Deborah Waters, and this has been on our hot chair today, life coach, business consultant, Sam Nike in the house, convener of the Get Ahead conference and organization. Thank you so much, Sam Nike, for sharing with us. Really appreciate. For those who called in to be a part of the show, thank you so much for joining the show. I hope you're able to recognize and maybe recover from identity crisis. How can people find you on social media, though?
Sam Nike at Sam Nike. That's all. Yeah, at Sam Nike. SAMNAIKE on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. That's just it. Sam Nike. At Sam Nike.
Sam Nike Fire.
SAMNAIKE. SAMNAIKE. And then if you have any question, maybe about identity, much later, you can come into my DM and then I'll be able to.
Wow,
answer.
That's so nice of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back again on Wednesday at exactly 5 to 6 p.m. for another amazing package for you. So make sure you join in. And don't forget to follow at deepwaters_podcast on IG and, of course, on Facebook to stay connected. You can watch a repeat of this episode on YouTube at Deborah Waters to watch a repeat of this episode. And thank you so much for watching. For myself and Sam Nike. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.